Hello, everybody. It's Raina here from Garden District Bookshop, and I want to thank you for joining us for virtual happy hour again this evening, even though there's a storm brewing outside. Tonight, I'm super excited to welcome Steven Salvatore to the show. I was able to read his book early. It was a digital, ebook manuscript, and the moment that I finished reading their book, I was like, I have to ask him to come on virtual happy hour. So without further ado, I'm going to click this button and they will appear that way. Hi, Steven.
Cheers. How are you, Raina?
Very good. How are you?
I'm fabulous. I got my wine, so obviously a little splash. As Mariah would say, a festive splash. Cheers. Cheers.
Nice. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. It's always you got to have your drink ready for virtual happy hour.
Always. When you contacted me about the virtual happy hour, I was like, all right, I got my wine. I was like in my head planning the bottle, like what am I gonna get? And I love a good Montepulciano. So there you go.
Awesome. I am so happy that you said yes to coming on virtual happy hour.
Of course.
And this is very true. So let me go back and I'm going to show everyone. This is how I read Steven's book. It is a simple little, no fancy cover, anything, like e-manuscript. Yes, it has typos and everything, which they've fixed all of those for the.
Oh my God!
None of them are Steven's fault. None of them. They're all
just red. My face. I see the redness of my face. Right
No.
Okay, for everybody viewing, that's the original font. That is the actual manuscript that I wrote when I originally wrote it, and I hand chose the font so that it would not drive me crazy because I have crazy anxiety and OCD when I write. So
it was really clear and easy to read, so it was perfect.
Well, look at that. I predicted it. I welcomed it, and so I'm glad that you read it in its copy edited.
I absolutely loved it. And I want you to tell, because your book does not come out until March. His book does not come out until March, but it's available for pre-order right now. You can purchase it for yourself, for the young people in your life. It is a YA novel. And it will just magically show up on your doorstep in March, and it will be like Christmas all over again. And I'll put the link to purchase that in the comments.
Yes, and it's only 5 months away, by the way, for everybody. I mean, I just realized that today that it's 5 months away. So it's kind of crazy, but get that and pre-order.
I finished reading it, and really honestly, the minute I finished reading it, I was like, I need to talk to Steven. And we've been doing this virtual happy hour thing for a few months at that point. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to wing this and tweet him and see what happens.
And I honestly, I was so flattered when I got it. I was a little overwhelmed because it's like, you don't really expect anybody, to be reading your book. Especially because I wasn't quite sure that people were in fact reading. I had no idea, really. Let's just be honest. I had zero idea, and so I was overwhelmed. I was flattered. I may have shed a couple tears, and obviously I was totally ready to jump at the chance because any opportunity to talk about myself and my book, why not?
Right.
And have fun with it, and have a little splash and have fun.
Exactly. So I want to say, everybody who's watching, if you have any questions or comments or anything like that throughout the event, type it in the comments. We can see that, and we will answer any of the questions that you guys have. Don't be shy. Also, a fun thing to do is tell us where you're watching from. That's always fun.
Yeah, that would be fun.
So that can give you something to just break the ice. Type it in there. We can see it.
Yes. Because you are in NOLA and I am up in the Catskill Mountains in New York. So we are virtual worlds apart.
Exactly. And it's been a lot of fun talking to everybody, where everyone is getting from during these events. Because like I said, sometimes it's all over the world. It's fun.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Hi, I don't know where y'all are at, but hey.
Yeah, where in South America? Oh, in Suriname.
Oh, hey, cool.
That is so awesome. Thank you for tuning in.
Yes, thank you so much.
So Steven, give us the elevator pitch. What's your book about?
So, Can't Take That Away is about a genderqueer teen named Carrie Parker who is cast as the lead female role in their high school musical, and their high school is putting on a production of Wicked. And they try out through a series of back and forth trials and a little bit of soul searching. They eventually get up the courage to audition, and they are cast as the lead, which does not sit well with one of the teachers who exhibits a lot of homophobia, queerphobia, and we come to find out some racism in there. Just generally not a great teacher. And so then lots of stuff happens. And this is clearly not an elevator pitch. I am not good at this, by the way, but
we're learning. We're learning.
Yeah, stuff happens, and they are then kicked out of the musical, and Carrie and their friends rally the school in protest against the teacher and to get Carrie back into the show. So that's my super. That was an elevator ride up to the 100th floor.
That was good. That works. That works.
Okay.
So here's another piece of this that you didn't mention at all.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
I know.
There's so many people. I never know what to mention and what not to mention in an elevator pitch.
We think it depends on who's in the elevator.
That's very true.
Yeah. So one of the things that I really loved about your book is two big things. Every single character has a story, is nuanced. There's depth to every single character. Mm-hmm. There isn't a throwaway character. Even with you're talking about the teacher who really fights he's a coach, isn't he? He's a coach and a teacher. If I'm
yeah. So are you talking about Mr. Kelly, the advocate, Carrie's mentor?
So both of them. Right. So Mr. Kelly, he has a story. There's a reason why he doesn't just help Carrie, which he does, and he's an advocate and he's an excellent support for Carrie, but he has a story. We find out why he's helpful and trying to help Carrie, but also he gets into this position where he is advocating for Carrie and for the kids, and he wants the play to continue, but that's his job. Yeah. And you see that he ends up stuck in this sort of position where he doesn't want to lose his job, and he doesn't want, those repercussions in his life to happen, but also he's trying to advocate for Carrie and for the other kids, in the play. And I love that every single one of your characters, you see that depth in them and how they make those decisions and why they make those decisions. And why those decisions are hard. Those things are hard for the adults. Those things are hard for the teenagers. It's not black and white. It's not cut and dry. As much as we'd love to say, this is what I believe, and this is the right way, and this is what I would do. Yeah. Well,
it's very true. I think, insofar as Mr. Kelly's character, who is the advocate and really mentors Carrie throughout the book and is there for Carrie and their friends, a lot of Carrie is based on me, but also a lot of Mr. Kelly is based on me and my experiences as a teacher, because I am a college English professor, and a lot of the quote unquote politics of working at a school, in my case, a college and not a high school, but just, working in that sort of in that field, there are a lot of lines that you have to toe, and it's like you can't cross over certain lines, and you can't do certain things because it's unbecoming of a teacher, and you have to sort of fall in line with the administration in a lot of respects, and so a lot of what Mr. Kelly dealt with in the book is stuff that I've dealt with, not necessarily to the extent that he had in the book, but it was definitely a lot from my own experience.
So Alex Richards, who I'm going to call out because I read her book as a manuscript too.
I love Alex Richards' book, Accidental. Oh my God.
Yes, and I will.
Everybody buy that book, please, please, please. It's so good and such an important read.
I will post a link to her book as well here in the comments in just a minute. But she has a question. So did you add or subtract any characters from the first draft to the final draft?
And that's a really, really good question. From the first draft to the final draft, I don't think I added or subtracted any characters, but I did pull out some characters from the first draft. Reina, there was a character, Blanca, who I don't want to get into Blanca's importance in the story because I think that she's a definitely a more of a minor character, but has sort of like a major impact in what ends up unfolding. But she in the first draft was pretty much like just a throwaway name who I was like, I want to work. I had this whole thing in my head for this character, but I didn't quite know how to bring that character out and draw her out. And through like subsequent drafts, I brought her more into the fold. And she had more of a prominent role. But as far as like adding brand new characters or taking away characters, no.
All right. See, yeah, there's definitely, and you touched on it too, like Blanca has this depth to her and this bigger piece where she first shows up, you're like, oh, they're a friend. Oh, there's a friend. You never know. It's going to be just throwaway. Oh, they come in and out, but every single one of your characters, they stick around and they have a purpose.
I love hearing that because it's you never you hear from your critique partners and your editor and your agent and you get that sort of feedback, but I don't know what it's like to have readers, to have booksellers, to have other people outside of that tiny little circle, give you feedback and to let you know that something you're doing is actually like okay or good or whatever. So it's good to know.
With anything that you're doing, that first time you have a person who doesn't have any skin in the game, like actually give you a good feedback, you're like, oh, maybe it really is.
Yeah, like, oh, this is okay. I maybe I did something. Maybe I actually did something here. So that's cool.
Absolutely. I can't. This is an important book, and I said something on Instagram earlier today, and it's absolutely true. I wish I had more books like this to read when I was growing up.
Me too.
Yeah,
it would have changed. It would have changed my whole life if I had more books like these, for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, so we have another question from Nicholas, who is in Saratoga Springs, New York, right now. And what is your favorite Mariah Carey song?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so my favorite Mariah Carey song is it changes daily, but every single song from her Butterfly album that came out in 1997 is flawless. And I would say from that album, my favorite song right now is The Roof. Normally it oscillates between like The Roof and Close My Eyes and Outside, and see these are definitely like more deeper album cuts that like only the fans know, and not, I mean, listen, all of her like major #1 songs are again flawless, but I tend to gravitate more towards like the deeper stuff. And I saw the other question, what is Carrie Parker's favorite Mariah song? And I would definitely say Close My Eyes. Actually, no, sorry, Outside. Because both of those songs really, a lot of the lyrical content, like the song Outside talks about, it comes from this place of Mariah growing up biracial and not really knowing where she fits in and sort of always being on the outside. And I'm not biracial, so I don't know what that experience is like, but I know what it's like to be queer. I know what it's like to be genderqueer. I know what it's like to be gay. I know what that made me feel like, not really knowing where I fit in, what all these things were that I was feeling and experiencing and living, and not really knowing like that there was a place that I belonged in. And so Carrie also experiences those feelings too. And like I said, like there's a lot of Carrie that is me. And so I think Carrie and I are sort of on the same page with Mariah and her music.
Did you have a supportive group of friends like Carrie does in your book?
Yes. So what's really interesting is the friend group in the book. Two of the characters, Monroe and Joey, who are twins, and they are Carrie's best friends. They are based on my best friends, who are twins. And I've told them this. I don't know if they've tuned in or not, but they're very, very, very heavily based on them. Not necessarily the situations that are in the book. Like there's some conflict between Carrie and the Joey character that didn't happen in real life. That was sort of like a different kind of experience. But the friendships there are very real, and I drew from what I knew. And like, but growing up though, I wasn't out. I didn't come out as gay until I was 23 years old. And so I was very much afraid of, realizing who I am, realizing that out loud, saying that out loud. I think I knew who I was from a really, really young age. But there was a lot of fear associated with that. But all of my close friends were extremely, extremely supportive, and I never had an issue with anybody. But I also keep my friend group like super tight, and so I don't let people in very easily. So it's like, I'm gonna keep you around because I know that you're a good person and that you're going to be receptive and supportive and loving. So that's just kind of who I am. I just went on a tangent about friendship.
Do it.
That I don't know.
Friends are great, and you need friends. And I had a friend in middle school and high school who was Carrie, who was absolutely Carrie, almost everything about Carrie. And I was part of their support group, that tiny group, of us that were all just sort of, there were like 4 or 5 of us, and we just sort of hung together. And it was, even from an outside, like I'm reading your book, and in your book, his friends stick up for him and they get together and they fight the system to, allow the High School Musical to be inclusive, and whoever, wins the audition is who gets the part. It doesn't matter what your gender identity is. If you can do the part the best, then that's the part that you get. And that's the way I believe it always should be and should have always been. And they fight for that with him.
Yeah.
And with me and my friend, we never, we say it's a different time, but we didn't, we would never have even gotten our moment in front of a school board. You couldn't even have gotten that far with anything like that. And I'm reading this and I've thought of it and I'm tearing up because I imagine the kids now have more ability to do that and to fight that system. And books like this exist to give them that you can see that option.
Yeah.
And, doesn't mean you're always going to win, but it means you could do it. And back when I was going to school, it wasn't even like you couldn't do it. Like we were.
And you can fight. And that's, one of the I think the driving factors why I started writing this book is, I was definitely, pouring a lot of my feelings into Carrie, but just sort of like this situation mirrors a lot of what I was seeing from my own students as well. And the college that I was working, I'm no longer working there. I left there because it was a toxic environment, and I went to a different school. But there was this fight for preferred names. A preferred name policy where it was like this big to do over offering an alternate to like what was your name on your birth certificate. And that's what they called it, the preferred name policy at the school. And it was like, all these big conversations about like, oh, well, but if we allow them to choose whatever name they want, then it's going to cause chaos. And it's like, is this a real conversation that we're actually having right now, and that we're having with a lot of older cis men and women who are not part of the LGBTQ community at all, that just want to say like, oh, well, if I want to call you like Apple Tree, can I call you Apple Tree? And it's like, you are so offensive. I actually want to like rip my own hair out and throw it at you. And it was, seeing students having to fight this system and, trying to fight with them and realizing that there are no channels as a teacher to fight. And not even, and as a gay genderqueer teacher, there are no channels. Right? Like right. I had a knot in my stomach because I wanted to post an LGBTQ safe space sticker on my office wall. Like, oh my God, am I going to get like chastised for posting this sticker on a wall? And it's just like that sort of culture. You wouldn't necessarily think of that as something that exists in higher education. But it really does. And seeing the pain that it was causing me, like feeling my own pain along with the students' pain as well. It was just something that like allowed me to just pour everything into this book, to show that it is possible to fight back, and that students should fight back against policies that are often discriminatory, that are just not often, that usually are rooted in discrimination.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they do it in a very smart way.
Yeah.
And I want to say that like adults who are looking at YA books and middle grade books to purchase for kids in their lives or younger people in their lives, I often they'll come up to me and they ask, well, does it have this? Does it have that? Well, would it encourage this? Would it encourage that? Mm-hmm. And like, I want to be very clear that your book, the students totally do fight back and they win. They almost don't, but they do win. And like, you show it in a very organized way and in a very real way. Like they work really hard at it. It's not sort of a black and white, like, oh, it was bad. And then they fought people and it won, or there was some sort of weird violence, or there was some sort of like horrible thing that they did. I mean, they did their research and they did what you have to do. If you want to make policy change, you have to do the research and you have to know the right people and you have to go and be willing to stand out there all day in the rain and the snow.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is like protests in general are very well organized. Like it's not just one day, one person decides I'm going to go and protest and then like tweet something and then all these people, like there's organization, like, and not necessarily an organization, but there is organization involved in protesting. And so that was really important for me to show that there are steps involved, right? And it's not easy, and it does take a little bit. I mean, granted, it's in the book, it is sort of like a more of a condensed timeline.
Yeah.
But I think it is true to life in a lot of ways, right? Because something happens and there is immediate action that takes place. You just don't often see all of the behind the scenes stuff. You just see something happen and then, oh, look, there's a protest. And so I wanted to take that through like step by step to sort of see like, this is how you can do this. You can fight back, because it is really, really important to know that you have power, that you have a voice, that you can get yourself out there and push back against bigotry, against hate, against homophobia, queerphobia, racism, intolerance, and that you can push for that future that you want. And so that was very, very crucial for me.
I'm gonna say I love your book again. I just feel like I want to keep saying that. I don't know if that's weird. I mean, is it getting weird?
I mean, please, I enjoy all of that. That's great. I'm more than happy to accept the praise, please.
All right, I have one more. Ooh, are you going to make this into a movie?
I mean, listen, if there are any Hollywood executives out there, any people that are involved in that process that would like a copy of the book, now that the advanced reader copies are out there, hit me up. Go to my website and fill in the information on my contact form, and I will forward everything to my agent. And that's how we, because otherwise, like, it's not like I decide, like, yes, I am going to make this a movie. I think it would be really cool if that's exactly how it were done. But yeah, no, there's a lot involved in those decisions that I frankly would not have any part. Authors really don't have any part in those discussions.
It's a little different than just going on virtual happy hour. You have to.
Yes. If it were that easy, I mean, I'd be hooking up with Hollywood people all the time. It'd be great.
You'd be like, I'm moving to LA, got to hobnob with the right people for a while.
Exactly. Although LA's a little warm for me. I feel like I need like my cold New York sort of seasons. I'm very much like give me a hoodie, and a jacket and a scarf. But listen, I'll go to LA for like a trip. That's fine. I don't discriminate against LA.
All right, Steven, this is where we differ. This is it. This is the line.
All right. You are in New Orleans, so I think
New Orleans is about as far north as I can ever live. Like, I love visiting. I'm traveling all the time. One of my biggest problems with COVID is I had to cancel all of my trips, and it's driving me mad. But no, New Orleans is what I call fashionably cold. So we get just cool enough we have a fall, we have a spring, we have a winter and summer. It's just cool enough where you can wear tights and a cute scarf, a cute knit cap, maybe some boots. But I'm not
like Brooklyn bougie.
Yes, but I'm never afraid that I'm actually going to freeze to death. I don't need to actually, like, my nose isn't going to get frostbite. I'm fashionably cold. And I like that. That's that.
Okay. I'll take it.
Well, you can come visit here in the winter for a week or so and warm up. And then I can go visit there in the summer for a week or two and cool off. It'll be great.
I think that's fabulous. I'm down for that.
So what took you up to the Catskills? Because you usually live in the city, right?
I do. Not in the city. I live outside the city in Westchester County, Peekskill, actually. And so my friend has a farmhouse, one of my friends from high school. So I told you I keep a very tight, close group, and a lot of those friends are friends from most of those friends are friends from my childhood. And one of my really close friends from high school has a farmhouse here, and she is staying here actually for the month. So she's like, "Hey, come visit." And so me and my husband were like, all right, absolutely. We have been trapped in our apartment for however long, and oh, a dog just came in and said hi. And we were like, let's just go to the Catskills. Let's go for a couple days. So we just packed up and we're here for like 4 or 5 days. So yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, the only place that I've really been outside of the city is my mom, my sister, my nephew, and I. We rented a cabin. They live in Florida, and I live in New Orleans, and so we rented a cabin in Georgia. Just like we found somewhere out in the middle of nowhere. Just a pretty affordable cabin. And so they drove up and we drove over and we hung out for like a long weekend.
That's nice. I love that. And
it was a lot of fun. Yeah. Just to get out. We didn't really even do much. I mean, normally we're looking for something to do every day, but
yeah, it's it's like when you're trapped for so long, there's only so much that the human condition can take. And it's like everybody, we're all safe. We all wear masks all the time. We know that we're all safe. So indoors, it's like, we're okay being in the same house. And, obviously we're not wearing masks inside the house because we're all safe. We all knew we were safe for a couple of weeks before that. So, it's important to keep yourself, okay mentally, and keeping in that headspace.
Absolutely. So are you teaching now virtually?
Yes. So my classes are all virtual, which is quite an endeavor. I wouldn't recommend it. No, it's good. I don't love virtual teaching. I mean, I got into teaching pretty much because I love that in-person interaction. I love being in the classroom, getting to feed off of all of my students, getting to know them, and see how they tick and see how they write, and getting to work with them one-on-one with their writing. So it's definitely been an adjustment. Obviously this is the safest for everybody involved. But I think everybody would be fooling themselves if they said that they love virtual learning. Like, ooh, I love being in a Zoom with other people trying to, sleep or speak all at once. So,
Yeah, that's something I've found. My son is 13, so he's in 8th grade this year, and they're virtual still. And as much as you are paying attention, and I do the same thing in Zoom meetings and stuff, you're doing something off to the side. I'm checking the thing. Here's my phone, and it's hard not to, because it doesn't feel the same. Like if I'm in class, I am like front row, hands folded. What do you want? Yes, teacher. That's me. That is so me.
Absolutely.
But virtually, I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, I'm going to write this note. I'm going to do this thing. Here's a drink. There's the book. I wonder if I can get away with reading this book while I do the thing. And my son's the same way. So like, it's not even his fault. Like, I'm not even mad at him exactly. I'm just like, I know it's hard, buddy, but you got to kind of.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's very, very difficult. And I know that it's difficult for a good majority of the students. They want to have a college experience. They want to be able to interact with their friends. They want to be able to interact with me. And I think that's feedback that I've gotten a lot too, is it's like you have to sort of work around that online structure a little bit. And it's like, okay, let's conference individually on Zoom instead of like only like solely having these 70, actually 85-minute lectures. Let's actually have one-on-one conferences so that I get to know you, you can interact with me. And that, my students have said, is very, very helpful. Because it's like, otherwise their professors don't really know them, and it's hard. I mean, I could see, like, when I'm lecturing and I have like 20 faces, you know, in that grid up at the top, and I'm trying to like look at each one. I'm scrolling, but then as I'm scrolling, I'm losing my thought. And I'm like, what's coming out of my mouth right now? I've no, there are words that are coming out, and I don't know what those words are. So it's been an adjustment on everybody's, you know, for everybody. So
yeah, for sure. And yeah, and like I agree that it's necessary at the moment, but it's different. Sure. Is your school going back to in person anytime soon, or do you know?
No word yet. There are murmurs that it may still be virtual. I think, from what I understand, everybody's sort of erring on the side of caution, which is good, obviously, because we don't want, you know, this to spread further than it already has. So we want to sort of keep it under wraps as long as possible. And I think honestly, like, it changes depending on the news, like what's going on, and, you know, are there outbreaks on campus? Are there not? Like, so we just had a small outbreak on campus. So that, I think, may impact what happens for the spring. It sort of remains to be seen. There are a lot of question marks. There are a lot of unknowns, and it's always fluctuating information. So I think that's just the way of the world right now.
Yeah, well, there's no, you know, nobody knows exactly what to do. There are repercussions on either side. And, you know, you can argue the merit of one over the other, and that's not, you know, what we're here to do. But like, there's you know, the mental health of the kids for sure they've taken a toll, because their lives, they're going through all the same things that we're going through as adults. Plus they have almost zero control over any of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then we're like, you have to do this. You have to do it this way. And they're like, okay, I don't want to do that. You know,
it's sad, because I know, you know, I'm teaching all freshmen. And so I get to hear the stories about how their senior year was ruined because of COVID, right? And I go back in time, and I remember my senior year and how much fun it was. And, you know, not being able to have that experience, I think, has to be really, really difficult. And, you know, even the most like affluent tech student, and they're all affluent in technology to some degree, right? But like, it's still like, oh, I have to actually like sit down and be super self-disciplined in order to get through this virtual online experience, you know? And it's hard. It's rough on everybody. And so, you know, I think as a professor, I think my philosophy is just like, make it easy on these students, and make sure that I'm there to help them and to help guide them through. And these are weird times, you know, and we have to be flexible. I think that's really, really important.
Absolutely. Like, yeah. In everything.
I mean, listen, flexibility is the name of the game now. I mean, you know, you can't live in the time of COVID without being flexible. Like, that's just what it is.
That's just where we are now. This is going to be an exercise in just, you know, how flexible can you be? And I really feel like this is our moment. This is our time when, like, in 10 years, we look back and go, look, we made it through that. We're going to be fine. Through whatever this thing is that's happening now, it's going to be okay.
Absolutely.
And I think there hasn't been one of those moments, I feel like, in a while. And I could be overstepping there. Anyone who's lived through other moments that feels that way. But like, you know, you hear talking about like World War I and World War II and these rations and that, I feel like, was this moment that pulled everyone together, and everyone was having the same sort of experience. And you hear like the Greatest Generation, and they say, oh, you know, they lived through that, so they're going to make it through. None of this has been even close to that.
Yeah.
I feel like this is kind of our moment, not to compare World War II to what we're doing.
Yeah. No, but I think there's something to be said about what the future is going to look like based on what's happening right now. And, we could take that in a lot of different directions that I don't know if I'm necessarily ready to take that right now, but I think that what's going on right now, just strictly speaking with COVID, it's going to have long lasting impacts on the students, on everyone who's in school right now, whether you are in preschool or whether you're in college. I think, there's going to be long lasting impacts, social impacts, economic impacts, academic impacts. And I don't think we understand the magnitude yet. I don't think I don't think we have the ability to understand how that's going to impact people, but it definitely will.
Yeah, I'm very interested in that social experiment when we get into the future and can look back on this and see what it did.
I ultimately think that it's going to like severely hurt my heart to actually like see that on the page, because I see it already in my students, and it's like I'm an empath. I feel all of my emotions and all of my feelings at all times, and I also feel other people's feelings, and so like sometimes I get super overwhelmed by what people are going through, and so like I my heart goes out to like literally every student right now who is dealing with, and everybody is dealing with this. So there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of emotion, and I'm smiling, and it's because I'm a little tipsy. But honestly, like, if I when I think about it too much, like it does hurt me a lot.
So we have another question from Linda back up here that we missed. Okay, so your book doesn't come out till March, but are you working on another book, next project?
So I've been working on a lot of things. I just got good. I'm gonna say good with like that little question mark there, because nothing is final right now, but I maybe got some news about my second book that is super promising. So stay tuned. There might be an announcement to be made, but there's a book that was written that is in the hands of my editor, and I love that book. And I think that I love that book, I think, more than I love Can't Take That Away. I don't know if I can say that or if I should say that, because I think
you did say that.
I know I did, right? Hopefully my agent's not like texting me like, what are you doing right now? But I just love this book, because this book, if it turns out to be the book that comes out next, I started writing the main character back in 2006. And I have tried to write his story like 7 times, and I've scrapped like 7 different manuscripts, and I think I finally got it right. And the writing, I think, is much stronger in that book than Can't Take That Away. Not that I'm saying Can't Take That Away is horrible, but I think that my writing has improved.
Okay, wait. I have a question that layers these pieces together.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I love layers.
Okay. So you have this character you're talking about that you've been writing since 2007? Is that
2006.
2006. Okay.
Yeah. Long time.
Now, Can't Take That Away. Did you write that? So you're writing this other character and trying to get that story right. Did you write Can't Take That Away like during that process of?
No, actually. So yeah, so I had given up on that other character, that other project in like 20. Okay, I should have given it up in like 2015. But we love beating dead horses, and so I continued to try to make something work until probably like 2017-ish. And then I was like, this has to be done. This is awful. I have to be over this. Can't Take That Away, I wrote in like 46 days in 2018. And I don't think I left my apartment for like that entire stretch. I just like was inside writing. And obviously like first draft, horrible, but a year later it ended up selling. So I guess not that horrible. But yeah, I think I had to like leave that project behind to focus on something new. And I think all of the work that I did on that project allowed me to write Can't Take That Away. And then once Can't Take That Away was out, I think that was the book that I needed to write for me to explore who I was, my identity, everything that I was experiencing and feeling, and a lot of pain, but also a lot of beauty and a lot of joy in there. And I had to get that aside so that now I could focus on other projects that I really wanted to work on that are more uplifting. So like this next book is a rom-com and super queer, like super trope heavy, like sex positive loveliness. And
That's your movie.
Because I don't know, I truly don't know if it's definite yet, but that's all I'm going to say for now.
Oh no, that's the good one. So this is good to know though, because they talk about the sophomore slump, and we already know that's not going to happen.
Oh, knock on wood. Knock on wood. I'm knocking on wood right now.
We already have that in the bag because this is an amazing book. We know the next one is an amazing book. So just buy it, people, and make it into a book, and then it's a rom-com. So there's your movie.
I mean, nothing would make me happier, honestly. And that's, what's interesting is that one of my really, really good friends, Jessica Verdi, who is an author as well, she's had many, many books come out. She always told me, when just focus on the next book. Like get one book done, whatever you're doing with it, whether you're querying, whether you're on submission to editors, like whatever step you're at, always have the next book. Always make sure you're working on the next project. And so I think I internalized that, and I did a lot of writing. Like after I went on submission, once I sold, like I just continued to write, and I wrote I've written 3 different books since Can't Take That Away sold. And so there's a lot of stuff that's in like various stages of like whatever. So I think hopefully I'm crossing fingers that there will be a lot of things that are coming down the pipeline.
So how long was it from when you wrote this in 2018?
2018, yeah.
So from the time you finished the book, you started submitting it. How about that? Like you felt comfortable with it to start showing it to people.
Yeah.
To like today or March when it comes out. How long is that?
So it was a little bit different because at that time I had a different agent than I have now. And with that agent, I was on submission with a different project. And I had written like 0 draft version of what ended up being Can't Take That Away in like 46 days. And then I went through like 2 drafts of that, and then it went on submission and nothing ended up happening with it. Drama happened between me and my agent and we parted ways. And so I took Can't Take That Away. It was called Diva at the time. That was the working title. And I took that book and I started querying with it. And I got my now agent, and I just love her so much. Like she literally like, she gets me, she understands. She saw that book and she immediately knew like this was like my heart and soul. And she has like never stopped fighting for me since. And so I wrote Can't Take That Away in like June, July of 2018. It sold with my second agent in May of 2019. And since it sold, like it went through another round of revision with the agent, with my second agent, with my now agent. And then obviously it went through like edits with my editor, and then, line edits, copy edits, and all of that. So yeah, 2018 to 2021. So that's pretty much like a solid trajectory. Yeah. Your standard book. I mean, I think that's a pretty fast turnaround too, because technically it was on submission twice.
Right. I think that's
In
pretty
different
good.
versions.
Like, I think people a lot of time are kind of surprised. For some reason, I find that people don't think that books take as long from, when you're done writing it to the shelf. Like when you say a movie takes 3 years to make, no one's like, oh, what? That's so long, because they see all these people in the production and all there's like 5 camera guys and there's all these people.
Yes.
Like when you think of writing a book, you think, oh, well, that person wrote a book and then, that company put it out. Done. Not so much.
And it doesn't help matters either when they're like celebrities who are like, or politicians too, who it's like, oh yeah, I'm out of office, and then a month later they all of a sudden have a book out on store shelves, and it's like, how did that happen that quick? Like, obviously there are different timelines for like a celebrity and a politician versus your like standard author, and it takes a long time for books to come out, to go through all of those stages, because you do not see those behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
Stuff, yeah.
Well, and then something I'd love to talk to somebody in publishing about this. Okay, like exactly what you just said. Right? I'm gonna get somebody on this show that can answer the question at some point. But here's the question, right? So your timeline is about 3 years. Yeah. So and you're right. That's not crazy. A couple of years, 2 to 3 years from when you really start querying it to the shelf is not crazy. That's a typical amount of time. But then, like you said, like these Bob Woodward books, for example, they're coming out like in 6 months. Like there's a thing that happens, and then he's written a book, and then it's on the shelf with these super secrets in it. What's up with that? And I would love to talk to somebody about like the truth of the matter. You've got to know that everybody in that publishing house was working their butts off to make that happen.
Yes, absolutely.
And that doesn't even count the Bob Woodward, whose name's on the front cover, and anybody who might have assisted with that aspect of it. That doesn't even count that part. Like, what does it take to get that book out of that politician or that celebrity and onto the shelf? It has to be just an insane amount of running around to make that happen. And I'd love to ask somebody about the difference.
Absolutely. And you know what? Not to bring it back to Mariah Carey at all, but I do that often. But if you go back to like 2018 interviews with her, because obviously I spend all of my time just watching anything that Mariah Carey does. But if you go back to like 2018, like she did this sort of like almost like public interview, like town hall sort of experience when she was dropping her 2018 album. And there was a lot of questions about like older, deeper album cut songs. Like, what's the story behind this? And she would be like, it's going to be in the memoir. Like, just watch the memoir. And so it's like, okay, she obviously took her time, was writing that book for a super long time. And it shows, because I don't know if you've read it, but I would highly recommend it, because it was the last book that I've read, and it was absolutely stunning. And obviously she put a lot of time and effort into it. So I can't say much about like the celebrity politician experience, except that I know that there's a lot of fast tracking, and it seemed like this book there wasn't. Not to bring it back to Mariah, but I'll do that.
Well, no. So here's an interesting thing. Let's bring it back to her, because she's a really secretive person.
Yes.
She's not in those interviews. She's feels like she's honest and she'll answer the questions, but she's not throwing all of her personal life out there all the time.
Yeah, she's always somebody who's been pretty guarded. And if you know what to listen to, and you understand her lyrics, like she has told her story from the very beginning. It's just whether or not you're receptive to it, whether you know those little bits and pieces of her life. And like everybody thinks of her as this like grand diva persona, which is, I mean, it is part of her, but it's not like all of it. And that's sort of what drew me a lot to her in general. It's like there's this larger than life person with this incredible angelic voice that can like soothe my soul. But there's so much depth there that people don't really quite understand. And I always felt like that was like a little, I could relate to that in a lot of ways. And that's why I knew when I was writing Can't Take That Away, I was like, Carrie is going to be obsessed with Mariah. She is going to be their favorite singer, and they are going to be like, the book is going to just be like all of these little like Mariah isms, because again, it's like very much who I am.
Well, and it fits so perfectly because you have these people or books or movies or these things that help you form your own identity,
Yeah.
especially as a teenager, you know, and a lot of people, they glom on to something,
Yes.
and it helps inspire them. They help, you motivate them. Yeah. And it can be, maybe it is this huge, larger than life, and I'm going to be a diva. And that's that's a high, like, bar for yourself. But at the same time, it gives you motivation. It gives dreams and hopes, and that's amazing. And Mariah obviously was that for Carrie, and then it bleeds over into his friends.
You have to think too, right? Like there's a lot in the memoir. Again, it's like little things that all click into place. It's like she wrote a lot of, she wrote all of her songs except for, the covers that she did, but like all of the lyrics that she wrote, it's like they were coming from this place of like manifesting the life that she wanted to have. And like the things that she grew up never having, she wrote into her songs. And so like there's a lot of like, dream lover and fantasy and like a lot of this like playful, fun imagery that's really this projection of what she wished she had. And it's like, I think we all wear masks all the time. Some of us, wear masks that are harder to see through than others. But we all wear these different faces. And I think that, I can only speak from a white queer point of view. So I'm only going to speak from a white queer point of view. But, queer people wear these masks around other people, right? Like you can only be your true self at certain times. And it's like, there was never one moment for me growing up where I felt I could be 100% who I was. It was always little tiny fragments of that. And so it's like, I had to grab onto those moments where I could. And I think I'm hoping that that's something that is changing, that has changed, that will continue to change for queer kids growing up. But that was definitely something that I always felt, and that's something that I gravitated towards with her.
When I found out that Mariah wrote so many more of her songs than you think, because in the beginning, she's just a singer. You don't think of that her writing her own songs. You just think, oh, somebody writes it, somebody puts the music, she shows up, she sings with a beautiful voice. Isn't that great? But no,
she does all of her vocal arrangements. She's involved in production. She's involved in writing all of her lyrics. Like, that she's always been very like collaborative, but she's been writing her own songs since she was like 12 years old. And it's like, that's something that not many people and people don't give her the credit for her songwriting.
Well, and this goes, oh my gosh, this is probably, I'll just say it. So if Mariah Carey were a man, people would have assumed that he wrote the majority of his own music.
Boom, exactly.
Around. They go, oh, that other guy wrote that song? That's really weird. They would have assumed that he wrote all of his own music. And because she's a woman, then we all assume someone else, some mysterious other person, never even thought it would be a man writing the music or a woman writing the music, just thought someone else did it for her, and she just showed up and sang. And when I found that out, that she wrote the majority of her music, first of all, I was like flabbergasted. I'm like, wow, I just earned so much more respect for her.
Oh yeah.
But then after that, I paused and looked at myself and went, why did I assume that she didn't write it? Like, that's on me.
Absolutely, and that's the thing too. You know, she's said for a really long time, like, you know, people would take me seriously if I was sitting in front of a piano and just playing a piano and singing. They would think of me as a songwriter, but because I'm not on piano, because I'm like not on a guitar, they don't take me seriously. And she's written, and I remember like one of my like, I guess like foundational Mariah memories is arguing with one of my aunts at Christmas back in like, it was definitely in the 90s because I was super young, and my aunt was like, oh, All I Want for Christmas Is You is a cover. And I was like, actually, no, she wrote that song. That is her song. It is not a cover. She is so brilliant that she wrote a song that sounds timeless.
Mm-hmm.
And boom, now she's finally getting the credit, and I'm happy for that. But like, I've been defending the lyricist for so long. I mean, it sort of makes sense that Can't Take That Away was like really like this like praise of Mariah Carey in so many ways. So anybody who's out there listening, like, don't go into this hating Mariah, please.
Oh no, don't go into it. And besides, even if you do, like by the time you get to the end, you're like, I've got to look up these songs.
I hope so.
I should listen to these songs again. I mean, that's what I did too. I was like, okay, so it's been a long time since I've heard that song, and a while since I've heard that song, and then I now have this Mariah Carey playlist.
Yes, I love it. Please, I hope that's everybody's experience. Seriously.
Yes. So we're almost done with our virtual happy hour, but I have one more thing with this Mariah Carey. Like, how do we get the book to her?
I don't know. Mariah's people, are you listening? Is there a way, anybody out there listening right now have like a direct connection? Because that would honestly, I think I would be able to die happy. I'm just saying that.
I mean, I feel like this is something that we could do between social media and like, people and I know people, and the people here that are listening, they know people. Like, we should be able to get this to Mariah's people at least. Someone, we're there. We've got to get like 6 degrees of separation.
Help me out, please.
How old are her kids?
Her kids are, what year is it? 2020? Not that we could ever forget that this is 2020.
Right.
But her kids are 10, I think.
So right there.
I mean, they're like, it's a little,
they're a little young. They're a little young, but you know what? It's going to take a little time to get it to her. She's going to need to read it, enjoy it, and then by the time she's ready to pass it along.
I truly hope so. That would be amazing. And it's so the book is coming out on March 9th, and Mariah's birthday is March 27th. So
birthday present?
Early birthday present to Mariah. Again, if anybody out there has any direct connections, that would be great.
I'm just gonna start tagging Mariah in all of my tweets about the book with you.
Please. That would be amazing.
All right. Thank you, Steven,
Thank you so much for having me. This was so amazing, and I hope that everybody out there enjoyed me rambling. I don't even know what I rambled about, but I caught myself rambling many times, so I hope you enjoyed me.
That's the fun part of virtual happy hour. All it's going to live on the internet forever, and we're going to replay it in March when the book comes out, and it's going to be great. We're going to laugh.
I regret nothing. That's all I'm going to say. I regret absolutely nothing.
So thank you everyone for watching and tuning in. I will post the link to buy Steven's book again here in the comments. And it comes out in March. You can pre-order it now. And then when it comes out, it will just show up on your doorstep and it will be perfect.
Yeah, please pre-order. I don't want to interrupt you, Raina. Please, especially now in the time of COVID and, not having like in-person events and everything, like, being able to pre-order a book means a lot to authors. So support everybody who's coming out right now. There's so many amazing books that are coming out right now too that need your support. So
absolutely, pre-ordering helps us as bookstores know what to order.
Yeah,
it helps publishers know what kind of resources they want to put behind this book. If a bunch of people pre-order it, then they're going to send Steven on more events, virtual events or in-person events. They're going to put more posters and more bookmarks and more swag about this book if we pre-order it, and it is totally worth it. Please do.
Yes. And it's great for bookstores too. Support your local bookstores, please, 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 please. We love local bookstores. Love, love.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right, everybody, have a good night.
Good night.